It's been a couple of weeks and we have another round of marketing stuff coming out from CA for Total War Pharaoh, releases in October, and we're currently halfway through June, and now we're going to get to see some of the campaign stuff. I've saved up some things to go over as well before this over the past couple of weeks that I'll get to, but first I'm going to go through this 16 minutes of campaign gameplay. Alpha build, subject to change.
Destiny calls me, and I am compelled to answer. Gods, hear my voice. I will bear your blessings to battle. I am ready for the trials ahead.
They don't even have any armour, so I don't know how that will degrade. That's one of the things I'm going to go over the next few days maybe. The armour system in itself I think is really bad, and even though I went over it a little bit in a previous video, I really want to get into it in detail because there's lots of videos now showing how it works and the effects it has. And also I've had time to think about its consequences on the gameplay, and I'm going to get into that. That's a battle aspect thing and one of the biggest changes to the battles that we've seen so far. This video though might be more campaign heavy because that's what they're showing.
I am the rising dawn.
Me. It's all about Ramesses gameplay showcase. It's not Egyptians, it's not a certain Egyptian faction, it's all about Ramesses. I think the faction is even named after Ramesses. I remember this was really strange back when 3K came out. You would play as an actual character, you'd pick Cao Cao and play as fucking Cao Cao. It was so strange. Or you would play as Yuan Shao or his brother, Yuan... I can't even remember now. But you would play as a character and that character could die and then... or you could be annexed. Like, it's just a weird idea that you play as a character even though you're leading an entire chunk of China. You play as a character. It's all about dynasties, and it's the same thing again with Pharaoh.
And I will lead us into a new age.
And we'll get into this as well, what I'm talking about with dynasties, because there's some bad news about that.
Oh, poor Falcon. To be absolutely clear, it will be avenged. Ra demands it. Before we begin, I should say we're showcasing an alpha version of the game, so plenty of things are still being fine-tuned. We were just too excited to show it.
But I doubt they'll do much fine-tuning with regards to how the game looks completely and utterly like a reskin of Troy. They haven't even really done a good job of changing the aesthetic of all the UI.
Anyway, our hero, Ramesses, begins his journey to greatness in North Sinai, near the settlement of Nekel. As a trusted and ambitious general to Pharaoh Meneptah, tasked at keeping the troublesome Canaanites at bay, Ramesses' dreams of a revitalized Egypt lie well beyond his station. But who doesn't love an underdog? And underdog describes us well. Our stores are looking serviceable.
This is such a Troy clone. Look at this. Even the font just looks like Troy again. The font, the spacing, everything about it.
But ideally we'd be self-sufficient. Meanwhile, there's an angry man nearby throwing rocks at birds. We want to do something about those resources.
This just looks like Troy as well. The unit cards are just the same again. The same as Troy.
But first things first. Vengeance.
You're going to be hearing this a lot, but it really does look so much like Troy.
Ridge, so we're going to use it to funnel our attackers into a kill box.
So this is an abridged battle.
In Total War Pharaoh, outmaneuvering your opponent can mean the difference between the...
And this is a good thing. See, when you have impassable terrains and you have steep inclines and gradients and all this stuff, this does make it better. Troy did have some of this, and it looks like Pharaoh's having some of this again. But for Total War games, after, I don't know, Medieval 2, the maps have just been really bad, I think. Like, seeing Medieval 2, I remember I would fight in the Alps all the time, and you would have these absolutely ridiculous settings for fights where you'd have people walking up the sides of the mountains to get to you, and you'd be holding it, and you'd be firing down at them at extreme range. But then, when I started playing Total War again after I ignored Empire, I started playing again with Shogun 2 and the maps were kind of mediocre. And then in Rome 2 they were terrible. And then in every Total War game since, the battle maps have just been really uninspiring and boring. But in this case, and in Troy's case, you do see here that you have some interesting impassable terrain stuff going on. I don't know why they haven't done more of that. I think even Warhammer's really shit in terms of this.
A decisive victory or a humiliating failure.
It's way more interesting just for a start, but what the fuck is this? Why are they firing in these stupid plunges still? When are they going to fix this? It's so stupid.
At the moment, we've got one unit holding the line.
This is just absolutely miserable.
Everyone moves behind the enemy to attack in their flanks.
Look at the state of it. Why are they uploading this?
Front-facing units to hold the line, keeping up.
You can edit this so that even this, if this happens in the battle, it never makes it to the final cut that goes on YouTube. But they've just highlighted it so much.
The line, whilst the second
Scene
one
after
moves behind
scene.
the enemy to attack in their flanks.
It looks
Order our
terrible.
Front-facing units to hold the line, keeping our choke point as tight as possible. We'll explore formations in a later video, but
Yeah, the choke points thing, that could all be interesting if it's done well. Like if you have proper infantry combat and you have choke points and you have these terrain features that you see here, this could all make for some interesting gameplay. But even if you just ignore the difficulty modifiers for a second, you've got small unit sizes, you've got shit physics, you've got crappy charges and collision, you've got the hit point system that this game's doubling down on with the armour system. It's not going to give you the kind of battles that you imagine in your head when you're thinking about how good this could be.
but each one increases your tactical control over the battlefield. As the press increases, individual fighters break out from the melee to prove them.
And it is better if you have... Like, people debate these animations, like one-on-one animations, but there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it's better to have this than the shit in Three Kingdoms and Troy. Like, my god, it looks so dead and boring. At least this, on some level, has some aesthetic value to it. Like, they've done a velocity shift there, velocity envelope on that to make it slow down and look cool. But at least that's actually going on in the fight, like it was in Shogun 2. And even Rome 2 had that. If they do it well is another thing, but they have to at least try so it doesn't end up looking like Three Kingdoms or Troy or Warhammer. My god. It's just unacceptable if they don't have that. They had to do this. They had to. It was so bad in Troy.
In jewels.
That went through his head, what the fuck.
The ridge has given us the extra advantage we needed, and Sukkot breaks under a rain of arrows.
Arrows away!
And remember, we've already seen battles from all the YouTubers, so even if they try and make this look good, we still know how the battles play out and how they fight. We know how it looks, we know that the collisions suck, we know that the hit point system is still there and it's absolutely grotesque. Especially after seeing this with the plunging fire, we know that the archer gameplay is bad. They still haven't fixed the thing with range that has been gone ever since Medieval 2 and is sorely needed to come back. Like, for example, see when you have a hill like this, you should never be getting shot. You should never take return fire. But I bet you they can return fire on these. So where's the range? Does it say a range anywhere? Nah.
Keeping our choke
They don't
point as
select
tight
it.
as possible. We'll explore form.
Like, see up here with your archers, you should never be taking return fire. And also, this choke should be held up here. It's a stupid place to hold it. That's not where you would fight that. You would fight it up here. Yeah, this isn't even a real battle.
Without,
Let's look at that again.
without,
Just goes right through his head, actually does.
without hesitation.
The ridge has given us the extra advantage we needed, and Sukkot breaks under a...
But you didn't even really use it properly.
Yeah, run away. Coward. We'll finish him off in a minute, but first, let's get some royal decrees brewing. Okay,
Oh man, this is
what have we got here?
uninspired.
Unit experience, always nice to have, but a happy population is worth its weight in gold. Longer festivals will make the people happy and lead to trading outposts which our fragile economy could sorely use.
So your usual boring tech trees that we've had ever since... what was it? Which game started this? I remember in Shogun 2 it wasn't that bad. You would unlock possibilities and gameplay that you could use. You would unlock tools that you could be creative with. Like, see the way that worked then? It was basically just drip feeding the game out to you, but in these modern new Total War games, there's no gameplay being made available. It's all just number bullshit everywhere. That's it.
We'll also want to pick up increased food production and affinity with the forest. We can't really go wrong by prioritising these 4 to begin with, so we'll explore the food route for now.
Just thinking, Empire was supposed to have had a really good tech tree where it feels like time is going forward and you're unlocking new technologies. Even Fall of the Samurai had that to an extent. You were unlocking new technologies and using them on the battlefield and gradually phasing out all of the old Sengoku period units. So there's just really no excuse. It's all so uninspired. It's almost like there's nothing they can really think of to add to the game. They have to just have everything be there from the start because the gameplay is so flat that they have to just have it all there up front immediately and then pretend that they're giving you new gameplay as you get further in.
Now, and scoop up the others as we go.
Nothing quite motivated you in a Fall of the Samurai campaign like seeing Gatling guns or really advanced warships that you can unlock and use later in the campaign. On the other hand, to contrast, nothing really makes you lose interest in a campaign faster than realising there's nothing new that you're going to get to play with. There's no idea that you have but can't yet manifest because you're not yet in a position to do it. You don't yet have the technology available. That keeps people invested, but you don't see any of that when you look at these tech trees and these things that unlock, if you can even call it unlocking. It's just really uninspiring, and that's why no one finishes these Total War campaigns ever, or even close to it. Because none of this is new.
We started our sure-to-be legendary voyage into the Field of Reeds with 2 out of 4 of the settlements found in North Sinai. We only need Azati and Sukkot to complete the set, but before we do, let's explore a traditional Egyptian pastime: building impressive things. Looks like our workforce is...
Also, the province system from Rome 2 is still here, and is still a plague on gamers that want to play Total War like they used to, where these are all tied together, and what you do in one dictates what you do in another, in a way that you wouldn't like. Yeah, people have... I don't remember ever reading anyone having anything good to say about this province system. I don't remember it. People just complain about it. Like, once you've taken these 3, you have to take that one. Wow, amazing. Amazing.
idling away in the blistering sun. Sorry friends, time to get to work. In the lands of Egypt and beyond, the workforce is a currency to always keep in mind. We'll need labourers to build our settlements, same as any other resource. For now, we'll construct a winery for the boons to happiness, resource production and workforce growth.
Look at this, you have 4 things that you can build. 1, 2, 3, 4. And whatever ones you don't have probably already exist in the other slots. I don't see much choice here, do you?
We'll also build a water well, again mostly for the workforce growth. It's around 1200 BCE, and at this point in history, trade up and down the Mediterranean coast was bustling, if not mysteriously slowing down. Dreams of a trade empire are nice to have, but let's start small. Our immediate neighbours...
And of course the diplomacy system that they introduced in Three Kingdoms and kept in Troy and have reused again here is returning. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because they have fixed the diplomacy from being absolutely broken and ridiculous like it was in games like Rome, and even really irrational and bad like it was in games like Shogun 2, and have made it somewhat, I don't know if I would even say balanced, but made it sensible and weighted and proportional. Like, it's tit for tat. And even if the AI is quite bad at evaluating the worth of things, at least there exists a system that assigns worth to stuff that's somewhat sensible now.
Are willing to part with their hard-earned goods, and like any true would-be pharaoh, I'm only too eager to oblige them. Ramesses quite likes us, so we'll get some trade going with them shortly.
Yeah, I really didn't mind seeing all these positives and malices for disposition. So it did consider all of your actions, and whenever you were doing things like deciding whether to betray, you would have to consider long-term consequences. I would usually try and avoid permanent malices and go for instead really well-considered even if they are long-term malices, I would take the ones that are really worth it and I would try and snowball them, and it could be interesting. So it's not like in older games where you would just have a blanket ban on ever doing stuff. In these newer games, you can in fact break agreements that you've made and have people distrust you, because usually it'll be for a while. I think there were special rules that existed, but I didn't really have any complaints about them. So I don't expect that they'll mess up the diplomacy system. I think it'll probably be a lot like Troy and 3K, which were decent. But again, that's not what Total War games are about. Total War games are about battles. So, and even though I can give them credit for doing a good job of diplomacy, I still just resent in a way that they have obviously done that at the cost of having the battles be actually decent, which are the whole point in these games.
Elsewhere, Seti would also be a worthwhile ally to pursue. It's not much, but we can spare to part with some wood in exchange for stone to get the heavy ball of diplomacy rolling. He's more than happy with 55, so let's be cheeky and see what we can squeeze him for. 68? Nope, bridge too far. 66? 65? Ah, there we go, nice. Minor trades all.
That was always really finicky though. I don't know why it couldn't just figure out an auto balance. Why is there not an auto balance button for that? There obviously exists a value that you're trying to find, and the game can just tell you what it is. It can just tell you. They've had things like that in previous games, so I don't know why they don't have that here. Didn't they have something like that in Troy? Like you would offer, for example, 3 units of rice for 50 turns, and then you would click a button and I think it would tell you how much that was worth in gold right now or something like that. Like it would give you an actual value to that. I'm quite sure I remember that. So I don't know why they don't have that, because see this sitting typing shit out and figuring out the exact fucking amount of koku or denarii or whatever to get this satisfactory to appear. Like in this game it's represented by 0.0 or 0.1. Why can't they just have that all be automated? My god. Do people like sitting doing this shit?
Well and good, but if we want to expand, we'll need to become self-sufficient. Who's hoarding the goods? Timna has bronze, but I don't want to open us up to a war on 2 fronts so quickly. We'll do away with Sukkot first, then look at expanding west.
Always ready.
For glory! Take them down!
Man, see when I look at these, I think I could have been looking at Troy. Like, see when I'm looking right here, right now, I could easily believe I'm looking at Troy right now. This reminds me so much of Troy, even the icons, all of it, the units being all spreaded out and running around. Kinda disorderly. This is just Troy, man. This is just Troy. The unit icons look like Troy. The unit portraits, I mean, look like Troy. The little icons above the units look like Troy. Even the terrain reminds me of Troy a lot, but there would be more grass, I think, in Troy. It all just reminds me of Troy.
I have earned.
Why do they keep showing the plunging arrows? It looks shocking. What are they doing? That should not be happening. Stop showing it. Fix it instead of showing it over and over again.
Soldiers, move!
I think even the noises for when you drag units and do attack orders are the same as Troy. Like, it's literally just Troy again. They haven't even bothered to replace those audio assets that they have. What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Like, see, when we say Troy reskin, we are expecting it to at least be reskinned. It's one thing to sell us the same game again, fundamentally, which is what you have, for example, with Attila in Rome 2. But at least if you're going to sell a reskin it, give it new visuals and audio. This is just copy-paste. This isn't even a Troy reskin. Reskin is too generous. This is a Troy copy-paste. I want to hear it again.
Soldiers, move!
Yeah, like, see the movement thing? I'm absolutely certain that that's just the same as Troy, but the attack thing might be a tiny bit different. Is that the same?
Soldiers, move!
I think it is. I I think it's all just the same.
This is part of a new.
Let's have a look at those options. Loot, occupy. Look, it's still got those PH things here. Occupy, loot, and occupy. What the fuck? So reduces population a bit. Gives you some money. Sack gives you wood. 8% replenishment. I don't know what this is. What is this icon here? I don't know. Raise, burns it to the ground, gives you the most. Alright.
This is part of a new empire.
There we go, North Sinai liberated and our little feathery friend well and truly avenged. With Zakot and Azeti under our very caring thumbs, we've acquired a new building, fishing grounds. We've got 2, which translates to a very nice influx of food, and food is something we'll want to be wary of. As we build our legacy, we'll want to take note of the passing seasons. Aket, the flood season, sees great yield in our fish.
Hang on. Taxation on or off. Am I looking at this right? Is that what I think is? Is this just a toggle button for taxation where you don't even control the amount? So where's happiness? Happiness is here, so it's at -27 with -6. So it's probably in rebellion. Workforce is a percentage thing. Man, it really does look like, what'd you call it, that paper for pH, my god. Red is super acidic, this is alkali, so you want an alkali workforce. Is this workforce? What? Alright, so this has got to be happiness. -27, that fits with the red face, I think. This has got to be workforce, 63%. I think this is workforce, and then this is people, 16 out of 150, so it goes up in 150 increments for 1 population growth per 150. Oh, what a shit system, typical. Taxation, it gives wheat, wood, stone, don't know what this is this iron, bronze, and then gold. That's bronze, that's gold. I don't know, man.
We want to take note of the passing seasons. Aket, the flood season, sees great yield in our fisheries and further movement at sea.
Yeah, so seasons is something we've had since at least Rome, maybe even Medieval 1 as well. Didn't Shogun 1 have winter and summer? I think it did. I think we've had seasons the entire time we've had Total War, but it used to be implemented differently, I think, in a lot of games. Like in Fall of the Samurai, you would have quite long seasons that lasted multiple turns. So during the winter, you would have less movement range and replenishment, I think, even attrition in enemy territory, and it would last like 3 turns or 4 turns because the years would be really long. We'll get into that later, but we've always had seasons. Yep, in Shogun 2 you had summer, sun. I think you had more happiness in the summer. Less food yields as well, I think, during winter. Or less profitable farms during winter. They still gave the same amount of food, so you wouldn't starve, but they were less profitable because they give money on top of food, those farms. So this is something that's always been there. It's just another, like, see when they show this stuff in these trailers, they're trying to make you think that it's something new because they've given it a different name, but they're using the same ideas, and I think usually even the same code that they've had for years or decades at this point. And they've got a text thing here, a little, what do you call it, a caption alongside it. So they changed the text, they changed the icons a little bit, they changed the caption, but it's not anything new. Like, it's really banal, really, really banal. But at least it's reskinned.
Perret, the growth season, is the ideal time to bolster our forces. Shemu, the harvest season, is when we see bountiful yields for our farms and increased replenishment for our armies. Shemsu-Hor is the end of the year and comes with boons that we'll want to take advantage of further down the road. The ebb and flow of nature can decide the fate of Egypt as potently as any man and should always be respected. Apart from the ocean, Sukkot's borders are fairly safe, and I mean, who's going to attack us.
Wait a minute, I think that was a diplomacy disposition thing.
Apart from the ocean, Sukkot's borders are fairly safe, and I mean...
Positive factors, friendly and proven, so there's only positives here, and it comes from military action against someone they don't like, pass war with someone they don't like, executing troops with someone they don't like, and an affinity that's cultural, faction affinity. So current is positive, it's going to be even more positive as time goes on. So this is all, I think, the same as 3K and Troy. Remember everyone, 3K is my introduction to Total War after having abandoned it for like 5 years. I played Total War for like 13 years up until Rome 2, and then I abandoned Total War for like 5 years. And came back in 2019 with 3K because people said 3K was actually good. Spoiler alert, it wasn't good. It's just the same as Warhammer. Just like Troy is, just like this is. Even if they try and tweak some stuff around, they're using the same fucking game engine they've had since Attila, I've heard from XCA. All Total War games are just different branches, different points on a tree branch that leads back to Attila, which as we know is just Rome 2 again. So they've just sort of made a really bad gameplay engine with Rome 2, adapted it for Warhammer, and then started just spitting out a game every year based on Warhammer. That's what they've done.
Me. Who's going to attack us from the sea? No, Azati's neighbours are of the rougher persuasion, so we'll look at building our fences just a little bit higher and install a nifty keep out sign. That should do the trick.
What is that?
Neither Ashkelon nor Bathsheba are particularly fond of Ramesses' expansive efforts, so I'm tempted to
Oh wait,
rush
deteriorating. Let's look at that.
Ashkelon nor Bathsheba are particularly fond of Ramesses'
Trespasses against them, military actions against someone they like, pass war with someone they like, and cultural differences deteriorating. Alright.
expansive efforts, so I'm
3K
tempted
again.
to rush our upgrade along just in case.
So as I was saying a minute ago, whenever I see this stuff, I'm just reminded of 3K because that is almost all of my experience of Total War games since 2013. I played Troy a little bit, I know how Warhammer works, and I know how to play 3K, and that's a solved game to me, and I know how it works inside out. So this is all reminding me of 3K again.
Oof, maybe not. We're too poor.
But even though it's reminding me of 3K, I am totally aware that this is all just because it comes from Troy, which itself is made in the mould of 3K and Warhammer. Just to tie it all together.
Either way, we don't yet have a steady income of gold, so spending what we can't replenish is just asking for attrition. Let's leave it for now and keep a close eye on the Canaanites in the meanwhile.
Recruit generals, so you recruit generals from towns, just like in 3K, probably just like in Troy as well.
Our more falcon-eyed viewers may have noticed that we've not been recruiting any additional soldiers just yet. It's unorthodox, but we've been managing to get away with it because of Ramesses himself. Ramesses is fast and far-seeing, his soldiers elite and...
Here we go, our little number multipliers, all percentages. Look at all of these annoying percentages, look at them. Missile range 15%.
loyal himself. Ramesses...
Competences. Oh, this reminds me of the old Total War games. Sorry, let's have a look at this. So we have a bird here, we have a ram, we have a... Is that a lion or a bull or something? What is that? Competences. So it's out of 5, that's out of 5, that's out of 5, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 2 points, 3 points. I don't know what's going on there. Titles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it says 4 here. Does that mean 4 is available and you can put points into that? 3 of this. What am I looking at here? What is all this shit? Can hide in scrub and forest. Ammunition 15. Composite bow bodyguard. Oh man, does that mean that the plus 15% range only applies to him? Battle speed, missile range. 219 range. Bar's almost full. Weight class light. Alright, let's just go on and see what he says. I think this means level 5, so they've still got the level system, which I fucking hated in Three Kingdoms and Troy. I hate this shit. My god, it's an RPG game again.
Is fast and far-seeing, his soldiers elite
Missile range 15%, fatigue build up -5. Yeah. Reduced attrition, increased movement, reduced upkeep. This is all really boring.
and loyal, making him the perfect run-and-gun hero. Because of this, we're not too worried about the edges of our expanding empire, knowing Ramesses can cover such large swaths of ground with ease. That means we can hold off constructing our military buildings until we've got a better foundation under us. Speaking of the military, we've delivered plenty of souls to Duat, ready for Anubis' judgment, and are all the wiser and stronger for it. We're getting a name for ourselves amongst our subjects, but it's up to us.
Alright, now we have 6 in here. Still have no idea what I'm looking at. So we spent one of the 4 to have 6 now. I still have no idea what the hell this is.
To mold Ramesses into the pharaoh we want him to be. Will he have presence?
Oh man, reduced upkeep 8%. Oh my god.
Reducing the upkeep of his
Boring.
army. Will he have fortitude, ensuring his soldiers
Replenishment 2%.
are
Boring.
always fighting fit? Or will he have ardor,
Movement 8%. Boring.
ever pushing himself and his men to go further, faster? How we shape Ramesses unlocks titles with various boons. The higher our rank, the more slots are unlocked for a total of 4 concurrent titles at any one
Oh
time.
my god, rank. So they've just replaced the word level with rank. Rank 27, level 27. Oh man. RPG game, bullshit.
We already have enough competencies to apply the
And by the way, it gets worse. You haven't even heard it yet. You haven't even heard the worst of it. We will get to it. Just remember what I'm saying right now about RPG. Because, my god. Shield of the Magi, melee defense for this army. Oh, this is all really boring as well. Because you realise it's just... You get into the battles and it's just a big mess of fucking numbers all over the place. That don't really change anything one way or the other. Especially on higher difficulties when you've just got like plus 100 fucking melee defense for all the enemy units. And you're still using the same shit of having... probably chariots in this game will be the rear charge. So you just shoot everything with arrows. Break units off one by one. Blob them with chariots from every side. Rinse and repeat. See if the game turns out to be like that. It's going to be so disappointing. If you're just not using infantry and you're just fucking charge wrecking from all sides with chariots and using archers on everything else. So you just archer their heavy infantry and chariot blob everything else piece by piece, defeat in detail, and that's how you play the game, and that's how everyone plays the game, and that's how everyone was obviously going to play the game, because that is the way these games work now. You don't actually do any real tactical infantry stuff. We'll see. Maybe I'm just being cynical at the moment, but that's what everyone fears, I think. That was how Troy worked, that was how Three Kingdoms worked, that was how Warhammer worked, so we'll see.
Shield of the Medjay title, which will increase the defense of our Medjay units amongst other effects. Going forward, we'll try to work towards love by the people for the added
Some mouse overs here, some weird mouse movement. Happiness 6%, aura size.
Medjay units amongst
try and
other
catch some.
effects. Going forward, we'll try
Look, why is he going around the middle?
to work towards
Holy shit, what the fuck are you doing there? What are you doing with that mouse
which will
there?
increase the defense of our Medjay units amongst other effects. Going forward, we'll
Alright, let's catch this. You ready, lads?
try to
Unrelenting in his strides, movement on land 30%, movement at sea 30%. My god. It makes all those 8% just sound like fucking minutia. Jesus. Units start fresh. What? You mean if you have a stance? If you have a stance to go as fast as possible and you get ambushed, you won't be tired? Is that what this is telling me? Unrelenting in his strides. So is this just a way of saying, alright, all the usual ways the game's balanced don't apply here, we've just made a magic exemption, like having a 100% resistance to fire, or a 100% immunity to morale, or 100% immunity to fatigue? Is that what this is? Is it just a stance immunity toggle that this guy's got?
was loved by the people for the added stability.
Loved by the people. Unique again. Another unique. Wow, it's so unique. This guy has number modifiers to a stat that everyone has. Every town has a happiness stat, but this is unique because there's a +6 that comes out of nowhere when he's there. Wow. Aura size 30%. It's really such a burden to be shared with love and adoration wherever one goes.
Ability to the realm, and merciless in his strides for the
That was some weird mouse movement there to just avoid overlapping with anything when he's going to just do it anyway. Merciless in his strides. This is different now. What is going on? Ability cooldown reduced, movement on land, movement at sea. I don't know if this really is just so in beta that they haven't remembered to change stuff, but I see a lot of redundancy here for something that's unique anyway.
massive boon to campaign movement.
Carousing? What did I see there?
Merciless in his strides for the massive boon to campaign movement.
Oh man.
Realm and mercy.
Let's see if we can catch some of this stuff, because that just went over a lot of things.
Merciless in his strides for the massive boon to campaign movement.
Oh man, I need to just go through it all carefully. Lavish and parades, unique. 20% ammo for the army, 15% speed for the army, for chariots, influence. Overseer of carousing, wow. Movement restored after battle, 20%. Oh my god, they have just done that Lubu thing again. So every time you fight a battle, you get movement back. They haven't made it like it used to be in Three Kingdoms and then copied in Warhammer. Instead, they've made it 20%. So you're encouraged to just run around fighting as many battles as possible and just chaining them all together. But it's not really that viable because you only get 20% of your total. So this is so unoriginal. Unique. How's it unique? Lubu had it as well in another game.
Alrighty, let's become a bronze mogul. Sorry, Timna, but I want your stuff. You may have been wondering what these little chaps are. To survive in the expansive and often volatile Egyptian terrain, we'll need to employ the use of outposts. These are structures like any...
Oh, nice. They have these predetermined locations where you have a 1 of 3 or even a 1 of 2 choice that you can make. Brilliant. Wow, just what I've always wanted. Forget Medieval 2 or Rome, Barbarian Invasion, I think, where you could put down forts wherever you feel like it. Nah, forget all that. Now you just have a predetermined place where you click 1 of 3 buttons. Okay.
other that armies can interact with to gain specific boons depending on what we choose to build.
Oh wait, there's 2 there?
They also
What is
grant a
that?
positive, passive effect in the province, but can be costly and are often targeted by invading armies. Military outposts offer anything
What?
from replenish.
Okay, so we have 2 slots, 3 slots, 3 slots, 3 slots, then you have 4 here, and then you pick 1 of 2. Alright, that's better than I thought it was going to be. My god, at least you have some choice over this. Garrison of 3. So, you buy it. It's in one of these places, you buy it, and then it gives you that in return permanently. A garrison of 3 club things. Cannot build. Need a research for it.
Punishment to increase siege holdout for
Upkeep of units stationed in fort, half. Allows an army to exchange units, own armies in this region. What? You need a fort to allow... Army units from fort will reinforce the settlement during siege. I don't know, man. This seems really convoluted.
local armies and settlements. Administrative
Why is it
outposts
out
can
here as well? Why the fuck is there something out here for this town? Why would you have that? What's the point in having an outpost here that allows you to have a garrison away down here? What the fuck?
make us immune to desert attrition or increase our legitimacy. Economic outposts can bolster our resources.
Production of resources 10%. Boring.
It's produced in the Outpost region. And finally, religious outposts relate to our chosen deity.
Favor, morale on recruitment, workforce growth, faction-wide reduction to cost of shrines. I don't know, man, this is all really, really boring. This all sounds so fucking boring, I can't even put it into words how boring this is.
But we'll talk about that in another video. Most outposts require technologies to unlock, and we're working towards the economic outpost.
Like, who is this for? Is this for, like, Paradox gamers or Civ gamers or something? Who the fuck actually wants to learn all of this shit every time they make a new Total War game? Who the fuck wants to do this and figure out how to actually use these systems properly? This is so boring, what the fuck? Who is out there that wants to? I don't understand who they think they're making these games for. Are there people out there that actually want to learn all this shit every time? Fucking hell. This is not a case of, oh, this guy has just played too many games, he's so jaded, he's just getting old and he can't be bothered anymore. Absolutely not. Like, when I have a good game, I want to learn everything about it. I'm fucking ravenous. But see, when I see this, it's like, fuck's sake, give me a break with this.
But we'll talk about that.
+1 workforce growth. What the fuck?
Most outposts require technologies to unlock, and we're working towards the economic outpost at the moment. Should only be another 8 turns or so. For now, we've constructed an Egyptian fort close to our border with Hech, giving us additional security in the region.
Yeah, so what, can they attack this and destroy it and then you lose the benefit and then they go into the actual city, or what? Do you have to run around disabling all these outposts before you attack the actual town to try and get rid of all of these buffs? Like, what's the point in all this shit? Why the fuck is it over here? How is this a fort? Can you defend this fort? Stationed in fort in this region. Upkeep cost of units stationed in fort minus 50% in this region. Yeah, but why would you station on the fort anyway? What's the point in this? Because it's not free, it only reduces it by half. Are you going to really sit for half of the campaign in these forts? Is it even worth it? It's not worth it. You want to be attacking, don't you? It's not balanced right. It needs to be more than half. It was free in Medieval 2. Like, see, in Medieval 2, it would be the first 4 units are free, or the first 6 units are free, and then you'd put a few really good units in that, and then a few really cheap utility units like militia in there with them, and then they would defend really well. That's how it would work. Or even in towns, that would be how it worked. You would garrison militia units, like 6 of them, and they'd be free, and you would have a garrison, and you'd be able to hold the city. You would have the units you put there, and then you would have... Try to remember. I think I would hold cities with 6 units in that game, and it would be fun, and I could do it. And I would sometimes just leave a few more if I thought I would struggle. Like, I would have some cavalry units as well. Maybe some archers. Like, I remember I'd try and get some really solid infantry and militia units, and they'd be garrisoned for free, and then I'd get some archers and cavalry as well to support it. And I think that's what I would do, and I would defend cities with that, and it would feel intelligent and rational. But see, if it was only 50% discount, I would just never have anything there. I would just let the city get taken, I think. I would only garrison the actually important cities with anything at all, and the rest of them would all just be getting lost constantly, and it would just be tedious. That was what Three Kingdoms turned into for me. I would just use the really weak garrison in the towers to cheese entire armies into the dust over and over again, and it would be really tedious and get old really quickly. And it wouldn't really feel like it meant anything because I wouldn't have important generals there in case they were lost in the fight, because it's like a underdog fight that I might win and I'm just trying to bleed the enemy. So that's what this is going to turn into again, I think. Just attrition and with garrisons. So yeah, this seems like it wouldn't be worth it, 50% discount, especially when you can't even just garrison units there. You have to have a fucking general leading them there. You can't even have units sit there. Allows an army to exchange units, own armies in this region, yeah. Army units from fort will reinforce the settlement during siege. See, it just doesn't make sense, does it? How the hell are units from here going to reinforce the settlement during a siege? What, are they going to come from the edge of the map as actual reinforcements? Is that how this is going to work? So you put units in these forts, they have a discount, and then you wait for the actual town to get attacked, and then they will reinforce it, even though it's a really big distance they have to travel to get there, apparently. Garrison strength, 1 units. Don't know, man, it's just a weird system. It's like they've tried to do something here, but it just doesn't seem like it makes sense to me.
And a strategic fallback point if things don't go too well.
Witness, gods! This is part of a new.
Wait a minute, what was sticking out his head? Did that really go all the way through his head? Is the fletching stuck in his head? Is that even an arrow or is that a javelin? Where's the rest of the javelin? What is that? That is really weird.
This is part of a new empire.
Stone quarry settlement.
Witness.
Yeah, there's the armor thing again. We'll get into that at a later time. But see this 29%, that's for the amount of armor the unit's got. Attacked and flank. Colonize, that costs money to do, like it did in Three Kingdoms.
Beyond compare. Marching onwards.
Hold on, let's pause there for a second. Hetch is a walled settlement, so we'll need a little more planning before the stabbing can commence. After all,
Look at how small the unit sizes are, fucking hell. 90 men per unit. That's like so bad compared to previous Total War games, like 15 years ago. My fucking god. There's something just so not right about this. There's something so off about this. See, it makes it worse. See when you see these little battle scenes? Like... Come on, do we have any? Yeah, like see these little battle scenes? See when you have these little blocks of units going around, it looks so much worse when they're really puny like this. They should be way bigger, man. Remember, this is Egypt. These people subsist on the Nile and its floods. They have grain, they have wheat, they have food.
Let's pause there for a second. Hetch is a walled settlement, so we'll need a little more planning before the stabbing can commence. After all, we can't expect our men to charge at walls without at least building some ladders first. Unfortunately, in the Bronze Age, pockets aren't quite deep enough to successfully conceal siege equipment, so if we want to climb some walls, we'll need to prepare. Let's start our siege and get...
Is that level 7 there? So this is just a generic garrison guy leading a garrison of 7 units. We've got 10 units here. Alright, so what is... This is ladders. This is a siege tower. This is a ramp for... What is this? Sapping? Oh my god, this is to just magically break the walls and the deployment screen with sapping. And this is the ram. So rams cost twice as much as ladders. Siege towers cost 3 times as much as ladders. Sapping costs 10 times as much as ladders, 9 times.
Get some ladders and a battering ram brewing.
You have improved your fighting form, I can tell.
Bronze, stone. Happiness +2.
Witness.
And this is the fight. Have they fully replenished? How have they replenished? Aren't they attacking an enemy territory? How is this all replenished? What is going on here? You can replenish an enemy territory or something? What is going on? 68. Is it a coincidence that there's 68 here and 68 here for these units? What is going on here? 68, 68, my god. So on... Is this a medium unit scale and it's got 68 as the number in the unit? Holy shit, that's terrible. So these are all attritioned. 68 down to 44. Like, see the attrition, it's all even. You've got... Let's have a look for units that are similar. You've got... Alright, 58 here, 90 here. So it's attrited by 35%, 34%. So that means that the difference between 90 and 58, I think, they're not the same unit. But yeah, so all the 90 units have gone down to 58. All the 68 units have gone down to 44. Like these two. And then you have full units At least here, this one isn't. Yeah, it's such a really small unit scale, and the attrition is applied evenly over time as a percent to the units.
Gods!
Arrows away!
Ooh, now might be a good time to use my fire arrows. I don't really want to have to rebuild the city. Let's not use fire arrows. Yet. A sandstorm's blown in, rendering all archers less effective. It seems Hetch's fate will be decided in the melee.
More plunging shots. The Achilles charge from Troy, do you see that? What? Wait for it, wait for it. Oh my god.
Sinai is ours. Our empire is growing nicely, and we're producing our own wood, food, stone, and bronze. Gold is still a bit of an issue, but now we've got other resources coming in, we can embark on some more ambitious trading.
For pharaohs.
I look forward to our talks.
Dipping our toes into Wall Street's all well and good, but it's still better to be self-sufficient.
What the hell was that? Why were they not measuring it?
Toes into Wall Street's all
50 bronze for
well
20
and good,
gold.
but it's still better to be
And they just know that it's going to work because it says a perfect even trade.
dipping our toes into Wall Street's all well and good, but it's still
Yeah, look at that, it's a perfect even trade. So it's 2.5 bronze per gold.
better to be self-sufficient. Hello, friends. Thanks to our royal decree, we've unlocked camp trading posts. We'll build one in North Sinai and another in Sinai, giving us a healthy boost to our resource productivity. But no leaders ever moaned about having too strong an economy, so we'll head towards Stone Shapers next. We've already dipped our toes into recruitment, but it's probably time to expand our army. A few more archers are always helpful, and the Habaru militia are nice all-rounders. Plus they have Vanguard deployment, which opens us up to some fun tactical shenanigans. That's the technical term, FYI. We've been a little heavy-handed in Sinai, and our new subjects aren't overjoyed.
Commandments. There's so many of these overlapping systems that are all just tweaking these things up and down one way or the other. 20% bronze, this province. Why? Oh, fuck. Minus 10% food, this province. So it's like a zero sum almost. So you're just synergizing shit. Matching stuff up like it was in Three Kingdoms. That was so tedious in 3K. Match all the purple buildings, match all the yellow buildings. Oh, fuck.
To avoid a rebellion, we'll organise some festivities. When folks have
So recruitment cost goes up, but there's
aren't
happiness.
overjoyed. To avoid a rebellion, we'll organise
Wow, so never recruit from there. Wow, solved. That was hard.
some festivities. When folks have cheered up a little, we'll hire some smelting apprentices for the boon to our bronze stores. We're fairly secure west of Nikel. I'm not anticipating
Treaties, military actions.
a betrayal from my Egyptian friends, and as we all know, whatever's lurking in the fog of war can't hurt you if you can't see it.
I've noticed that there's no family stuff going on here. There's no familial ties stuff like there was in Three Kingdoms. That was one of the few ways I could actually compliment Three Kingdoms, to say that it seemed like there was this big intertwined web between all the characters. Like they would all have relatives, they would all have allegiances. It could get really complex, I would say, but I don't see any of that here. Because in the F3K, that would even affect diplomacy and all that, and it would affect the battlefield as well to an extent when you had rivalries, you know, nemesis, I think. I don't really see that here at all, even though we've gone again with the RPG type of game.
Back east though, and Bathsheba's looking ripe for plundering. Attitudes towards Ramesses are bad, but they're Canaanite, so
See, look, it's just trespasses, military actions, past wars. faction aversion. So there's not really much going on here. I think in Three Kingdoms you could... I can't really remember because it's been ages since I played it, but I can imagine that this would be like 3 or 4 times as long, like this list of stuff. And it would be much more interesting.
So there's no reason to salvage the relationship. And they have gold, so I'm going to take their land.
Ramesses!
Thor's protecting its treasures greedily. We'll need to break our invasion down into bite-sized chunks.
Too risky.
We'll take down the standing army and the military fort first, then the garrison.
Yeah, so it's like I thought. You have to crack it slowly, it takes ages. You have to go through all the pieces, hit the smallest ones first. Ah, fighting uphill with archers, what the fuck.
Outflanked and outgunned, our first victories come easy. With only Hathor's garrison to contend with, we'll begin building our siege engines. Ah, okay. They'd rather face us in the field. Fine, let's do it. We're evenly matched, but I've hidden my Habaru units around their flanks.
Is the town in the background? Let's have a look. What is this? Is that the town? Fuck, I can't see anything really. I think the town's here. You've got a wall over there. There's nothing behind it though, really. It's like this is a fucking Warhammer or 3K campaign at the moment. Like, it just has all of these terrain things in the way. Like, see in Rome Total War from 2004, you would see a distant city and you would see the buildings coming up above the walls. It would be over there like 2 or 3 kilometres away, because we scouted, we looked around, and we both decided that we would fight here today, over here on this field. This is where it's going to happen, with the city like 3 kilometres in the background, off in the distance, on the horizon, but very distinctly there. But in this case, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to just fight here outside the city, right here, yep. And it also, the city is not... Is this actually a city? Because if that's the case, then why are the walls here? Why is there all of this up here? What's actually going on here?
Do it.
Yeah, look, we have walls, but what the fuck? Where's the city behind it? What is this?
We're evenly matched, but I've hidden my Habaru units around their flanks.
Even the music sounds so much like Troy at the moment. Like, what the hell? Jack of all trades. Fascinating.
Our surprise was spotted, so we'll be a little late to the party. Unfortunately, it's meant the bulk of our army's a bit overwhelmed. Here they come. Better late than never. Oh, whoops. Our line discipline hasn't been quite up to scratch, and Ramesses is staring down some axemen. Best get running, lad. The night was hard, but dawn brings victory, and Hathor's defenders retreat behind their walls.
So is this the city that we saw in the background?
Themselves safe.
Is this it? Is this what we saw? And this is something that I don't think I commented on yet, but when I was watching videos of YouTubers, it looked like they could place archers on this side facing inwards, which is something Total War's needed for ages. So these are one of the tiny little details that might be overlooked, but that you have to give them credit for finally including. This was so sorely needed. You had to be able to do this eventually. About time. Because look, you've got the ones on the walls facing there. The infantry, no, they're archers as well. So you have an archer unit facing forwards there, and then you've got ones that are here facing backwards into the city, and they should be able to fire straight down. So you should be able to drag a line, a one-man thick line right along the wall, and put them facing inwards and do that right above the gate, and then anyone that runs on the gate should get shot in the back while they get encircled from the front. That better be possible in this game, otherwise what the hell was the point in doing this? Look, see it? Firing right down into them. Man, they need to get rid of those plunging shots, holy shit. What is the hold-up?
We've been forging our own path until now, but Egypt has fallen into unrest and civil war looms. In the chaos, Ramesses could achieve all his ambitions. To solidify our claim to the throne, we'll first need to occupy sacred Egyptian land. It would appear our empire is in need of expanding further still.
This war is part of my legend. Victory is
Very glassy-eyed looking there.
my destiny.
Our face.
Egypt deserves a new dynasty.
October 2023. So it's been less than a month and we've already had a couple of waves of marketing stuff. Alright, next thing. This is the most important part of this video, I think. This is where we have the actual info that matters.
Will it be family tree and a general lifetime and such things, just like historical Total War?
There are a lot of features that have become important for historical titles: political system, family tree, empire management systems. All of those are important. We decided
What?
to focus on the ones that are dealing with politics and war for the release. So
For the
we
release?
don't have a family tree, and generals do not age and die.
We do not have a family tree. Generals do not age and die. I've alluded to both of these over the course of this video so far. Yeah, so it's just Warhammer again with immortal generals. They do not age and die. I don't know if they can even be killed or if they just respawn. They have to explain that. Like, see if Ramesses dies in his first battle of the campaign, what happens after that? Is he just out of the fight for 4 turns, or and he respawns, or is he actually dead? Is he actually dead? How do you handle this? If you don't have a family tree, then how the hell does Ramesses reproduce and have heirs? How can he have an heir without a family tree? Like, what is actually going on with this game? What are they on about? What are they thinking? How have you acknowledged that it's important if you're just completely omitting it from the game? Fuck's sake. They left this out of Rome 2, and then they put it back in, like, how many years later was it? Was it like 5 years later they put it back in, or something like 5 years later? I think it was Sophia that put family trees back into Rome 2. I say back into it, never had them in the first place. Like, they fucking added it into a Total War game when Total War games had all along. And that was like 5 years after Rome 2 came out and didn't have them. And now they're taking it out of this game, and even Troy didn't have family trees, did it? So it's like, you're making another really small scale, small scope RPG game. What, man? Historical? My ass.
But on the other hand, we do have empire management with a council and politics that are happening in it. So we have prioritized this for our release.
And I can see only Cherry.
Man, for all the problems 3K had, at least you can give it credit for having an actual family tree and traits, a rudimentary trait system. I don't see anything approaching a decent trait system in this game. I don't see a family tree ever being in this game. I doubt they'll add one in, because of course she said they're at release. So is that meant to mean what we can add in later? Don't get too upset. What is this?
And the infantry in the video. Do we have cavalry or something similar?
It is still a bit too early for that sort of unit types to exist. The horse has still not been fully domesticated to be ridden on in battle, so that's why we only have infantry and chariots. But that's why we have focused on making other new features for the battles that will make fighting with those infantry and chariots feel much better, much more interesting, and offer a lot more tactical decisions to the players.
Yeah, and do we still have...
I don't know, man. That remains to be seen. I haven't really seen much so far from the videos that people have uploaded. It seems like they play this just like they're playing Troy and that there's no real difference, and also the armour system that I'm going to get into in future. I think I'll be able to explain why that's really bad as well. Like, this might just be a really inferior Troy, and Troy was already pretty bad at this rate. It might be worse than Troy.
The switch weapon system.
Some units, again, which are more trained and can use different types of weapons, will have the weapon switching system, and we have included more types of weapons that can be switched now, I believe.
I think there are also new features that you're going to like, especially the new unit formations that will allow you to have more tactical. Because, for example, you can now retreat your units without them turning their backs on the enemy, or the other way around. You can use your heavy units to be pushing on lighter units and physically moving them so that they can remove them from a choke point position or any position that they are sticking. So everything that we discovered that is working well from Troy, we've kept, and we've built on top many new things that.
I hope that that's the case, because like that sort of stuff, it should be effective, it should work. There should be situations where that can help and remove micromanagement and also give better control over the units. Like, see in Shogun 2, you would put a unit into Yari wall and you tell it to go forward, and then eventually it would just sort of stop. And sometimes it would actually do what you want, which is to keep moving through enemy units and killing them as they go forward, like a pike wall, like an actual phalanx. But other times it would bug out. So if you could have had a way to automate that, like to just have an aggressive advance, that would have been cool, instead of having to try and do something that simulates that with the rudimentary controls the game has. So if they can actually have these systems be implemented and have them work, and have clear utility emerge from them, so that the player's creativity can figure stuff out and invent stuff, like find ingenious ways to use these things, then that'll actually be interesting and cool, and that'll probably be rewarding for a lot of players, especially in multiplayer. But I have a fear that the combat is just too shit. It's too abstracted into these shitty numbers instead of being simulated. The physics engine's garbage. The AI's shit. Even the AI of the men in the unit is kind of shitty. Like, when they get into a fight, they'll just stand there. You saw it in a clip of the charges where there would be a charge and the unit would just immediately grind to a halt, and it would be the most half-assed charge ever. So I fear that all these things are going to get in the way of these kinds of things even meaning anything, really. Like, what's the point in doing any of this when, as I've already explained, you can just fucking blob units with chariots from 3 sides all at once and have them rout, and have archers just shoot the armour off of every other unit to turn them into chariot fodder as well, which is what the gameplay might eventually be reducible to. You know what I'm getting at here? Like, this might just be pure gimmick that no one ever uses because they don't even need to. And not just because they don't need to, but because it doesn't even work, because the way the game simulates combat is too shit, and the game engine is just too shit, as it has been for a decade now. Like, see Rome 2 on release, a lot of people were thinking they would do stuff like this as well with Rome 2, and then the game launched, and it was a complete abortion, where the battles were absolute garbage, and have been garbage ever since, even after like 20 patches. Like, see, to this day, if you launch Rome 2 and try and do Roman infantry combat stuff, it's just fucking worthless. And if you try and rear charge with cavalry into the backs of barbarians engaged on your fucking manipular formation Roman infantry, they're gonna just do nothing. Like, everything is wrong with that game, pretty much. So you can sit and you can be hopeful that things are gonna work and have all these imagined battles in your head that could be really cool, where you can click advance or click ordered retreat and all this stuff. But if the game doesn't actually let you use it like that, then it's all for nothing, and you were just getting excited over nothing. And also, we've heard YouTubers saying that they couldn't even get that stuff to work, so that doesn't bode well, does it? If it's still completely hypothetical up until now, that confirms that it's still just an idea that they're trying to prototype and they haven't even managed to make it work yet. That's what that confirms. have you seen any YouTubers uploading a battle where they actually just win the battle by ingeniously using those two formation things? They're not even formations, they are... What was the word I came up for them? They are behaviours. Yeah, just behaviours, I think. Like, when they use these behaviours, have they actually had any battlefield successes and triumphs? Have they engaged in really good manoeuvre warfare to try and take the enemy army apart, or use oblique order, like have one side be overloaded and use the stance to attack, and then have the other one do an ordered retreat where it's like a really thin flank with weak units? Can you do a proper oblique order with this as in a scenario? Like, CA Sophia, can you use what you've got of these systems in your scenario editor to simulate battles and how they play out, to make an oblique order maneuver work to win a battle? Can you do that? If the answer is no, then this is absolutely hypothetical and is probably never going to be realised. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. Because this is how it always goes with these ideas that they're using in marketing. This could just be another one of those things that appears in marketing, is implemented like dog shit in the game, that players don't even bother using and just forget about, and then you never see it again in another Total War game. That's what this could be at this point.
I hope you're going to like.
But why do we pick the ancient Egypt theme? Because this formations feature seems like more fits the Rome or medieval.
That's a good question.
This is a larger question. Why are we making another Bronze Age game? Initially, we didn't know that whether the Bronze Age can be made in a game, whether it has enough unit variety, whether we can offset them with mechanics. And now that we discovered this is possible, we want to make the ultimate Bronze Age game before we proceed with another time. So you're right.
Alright, I just zoned out. I need to listen to that again. Holy shit, I zoned out.
This is a larger question. Why are we making another Bronze Age game? Initially, we didn't know that whether...
Alright, so here is why they've decided to make another Bronze Age game. I have a friend who works on it, also worked on Troy. Basically, Total War Pharaoh is outsourced to Sega Sophia, which is an underfunded skeleton crew. I've been told that Sega basically expects them to make something decently profitable while being on a shoestring budget and under severe time constraints. That explains it. That's the actual answer. Does anyone doubt this? I would have thought this before I even saw this guy say it, but the fact that this guy can just appear out of nowhere and leave such a concise comment that more or less sums up my perception of the entire situation, and then just dip out like an absolute boss, makes me think that this is actually legit. And even if it wasn't legit, this has surely got to be not far away from what's going on here.
The Bronze Age can be made in a game, whether it has enough unit variety, whether we can offset them with mechanics. And now that we discovered this is possible, we want to make the ultimate Bronze Age game before we proceed with another time. So you're right, these particular features maybe will be better in another setting, but they also make sense a lot of sense here. And we're not done with the Bronze Age yet, so that's why we continue adding.
Yes, so my hypothesis here is that they wanted to make the most thematically strong game concept they could out of as little actual work as possible, and to do that they went from the Aegean up to Egypt and the Levant and are just doing a bit of a partial reskin. So it's going to cost almost nothing to do this. Compared to how much it could cost to make a new game, this is going to cost almost nothing. It's been developed in Bulgaria just for a start, so this is just extremely cheap. A shoestring budget and severe time constraints. This explains why they haven't even changed the UI to make it look Egyptian with Egyptian calligraphy and all that, and have a more Egyptian aesthetic. Like, it all just still looks and feels like Troy. You would be totally forgiven for assuming that you're looking at Troy at any point when you were watching any of this, and that's because they just haven't even bothered to change it. They don't need to.
The battle pace, we slow down the battle pace. Can I imagine the battle feeling is similar to the DEI mode of Roma 2.
What?
Depending on the unit types that you have, it might even be a bit slower in there. Again, depends on how much, because here the way it plays out is slower than the mod you mentioned, but it can become faster when you outflank the enemies, when you surround the enemies. Now we have also introduced a new condition called surrounded. Like before, a unit could only be attacked in the rear or attacked on the side or both. But now there is also a new condition that means surrounded, which is going to add even more penalties to...
Is there a unit flag called immune to being surrounded? So are we going to have a new thing where there's units that are immune to being flanked but not immune to being surrounded, and then there are units that are immune to being surrounded but not immune to being flanked, where you'd rather just surround them all instead of partially surrounding them? Like, what the fuck is going on here with all of this stuff? Why can't you just simulate being surrounded? Why is there a status for it? Why is there a flag? Why is it up to a flag to dictate performance in battle? Why can't it just be down to what's actually going on, and then the UI tells you what's going on instead of dictating what's going to happen? That's what it feels like. It feels like the battle is determined by the little pop-up and the status things that appear on it, as opposed to those trying to capture what's actually going on down there and summarize it. It's just so backwards, man. Like, it's not how this should work. Like, see in Rome Total War, the only time there'd be a flag, I think, would be when it came to morale. When the unit itself, because that's how the unit works, it flocks like birds. Like, it's the unit is either going to rout or not rout. It's like a flock of pigeons on the ground eating crumbs. Either the whole unit's going to rout or it isn't, and when the whole unit is convinced that it's flanked, then it's going to take that morale malus for flanked. But if no one's actually engaged in combat, then it's not like it's going to have a plus 50% to damage taken because now it's flanked. That's just not how it worked. The unit would take damage because guys that were on the flank were getting hit in the back. But that's just not how these games work now. You understand what I'm talking about? It's just... It's backwards. It's not how it should work. This is not how we should have gone over the past 19 years. This is not the direction you want.
To the unit when it is surrounded. And with the way the armor degradation works, the armor will start to break down more, and as the battle progresses, units are going to start dying faster. So it will be very slow at the start when you're positioning your troops, engagements are starting, but as it progresses, you start flanking enemies, armor starts to get beaten down, units start to get tired. When units get tired, they're no longer going to lose that much attack skill or damage. They're mostly going to lose defense skill, so also they are going to die faster. And so regarding your question, at the start of the battle, the pacing is going to be slower than that mode from Rome 2, but at the end of the battle, it will kind of start going a bit quicker to kind of resolve the battle faster. Yeah, also units are...
I'm not sure what I think about that. That sounds like it could be good, but I thought that battles would be faster at the start because there's more movement and more aggression. But then later on, they would get tired and then it would slow down and there'd be less engagement because you'd be more vulnerable to morale shocks, so you'd be more tentative about even getting engaged. There's so much that you could say about this and think about it. I don't think that this is good or bad, just from what I've heard right now. Yeah, let's continue.
We're going to have new animations. Sometimes when they try to run away, they're going to, a lot of them, play some limping animations or how they are hurt and so on. So they're going to be a lot easier to chase down and kill if you have a spare troop to send their way and so on.
Alright, and that's that. That's the end of that. So that's everything that I was going to show. I'll get into the armor system and the way that works, and I'll try and tie that into what I heard there at the end of that. But for now, that's it. That's the Total War Pharaoh Ramesses gameplay showcase, and a video that appeared on Billy that talks about things that we haven't heard yet. That news about the family trees, and what's the other thing? Family trees are gone, and characters don't die of old age. That's pretty bad news for people hoping for a really grounded, historical Total War game, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think. Curious what other people think of everything that has been announced, revealed, or otherwise observed, divulged. And I'll be back with that video in the future. If you like my work and wish to support my further endeavours, then I've got a Patreon page where I try to give out perks, including updates on what I'm thinking and what I've got coming up. Special thanks to Matteo Olivetti.